So, Lou,
So, Gage,
last week I made an erroneous statement on our podcast.
really, what might that be?
Well, I said that a possible reason for Extinction's low-quality storytelling was possibly the writer's strike.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking about this, actually, this statement.
So, it turns out that it's not that the writer's strike affected movies that came out in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
The writer's strike happened in 2007.
Okay.
So the actual movies that the writer's strike affected are ones that came out in like 2009.
So, in other words, we can only blame crappy writing skills on Extinction being bad.
Correct. On that note, here's a few examples of movies that came out in 2009
Oh, God, I know.
to
one of them.
illustrate my point. So, to begin, I did give an incorrect release year for Transformers Revenge of the Fallen.
I was gonna say, I know what year it was.
That did come out in 2009.
Yep.
Other movies that came out in 2009. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince.
Mm-hmm.
X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Oh, God.
Underworld, Rise of the Lycans.
Oh, God.
Race to Witch Mountain.
Oh, God.
G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra.
Oh, God.
The CG A Christmas Carol.
That existed?
That was the one with Jim Carrey.
Oh, that's CG. Oh, God. Now I remember. Oh, God.
My Bloody Valentine 3D.
Okay, yeah, I heard that one was pretty... No, I heard that one was...
Terminator Salvation.
Oh, fuck.
And Dragon Ball Evolution.
You son of a bitch!
Or, hold on. Was that other one that came out that year? Hold on. I need to confirm. I need to confirm. Hold on.
No, Evolution came out in 09.
No, Evolution did come out in 09. I'm thinking of something else. Street Fighter.
No, it did.
The Legend of Chun-Li came out in 2009!
Oh, dear God, I remember now.
So yeah, 2009. Not necessarily a great year for movies.
Oh, God. Justin Chatwin Goku haunts my dreams still.
Resident Evil.
So hello, and welcome to this fourth episode of Code Jovovich. I'm Gage,
And I'm Lou.
and tonight we will be watching Resident Evil Afterlife. I am excited.
I am dreading it.
Lou has alcohol
A little bit.
and the house to himself.
Yes, Gage learned this the hard way when I shouted at the start of this call.
He rang me up. I picked up, and the first thing I hear is just a very loud binch.
Yes, I'm very sorry, Gage. I didn't mean to damage your sensitive eardrums.
It's okay. My eardrums were already damaged.
It's okay. We're all damaged a little bit inside.
So Resident Evil Afterlife is a 2010 movie.
One that we've been constantly mixing up with the following movie, Retribution, because in a lot of ways they seem to kind of get scrambled around a lot.
Yeah, I mean, like, the first three is, like, pretty steady progression. Resident Evil. Then the apocalypse happens. Now the extinctioning is happening. You just gotta think of it as, like, things go extinct, and then they go into the afterlife.
Yeah, now it makes sense.
So, Resident Evil Afterlife is a return to form, such that Paul W.S. Anderson is directing it again.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we've gotten back into the movies directed by him.
Try harder.
In a world ravaged by a virus infection, turning its victims into the undead, Alice, Mila Jovovich, continues on her journey to find survivors and lead them to safety. Her deadly battle with the Umbrella Corporation reaches new heights, but Alice gets some unexpected help from an old friend. A new lead that promises a safe haven from the undead takes them to Los Angeles. When they arrive, the city is overrun by thousands of undead, and Alice and her comrades are about to step into a deadly trap. So, first things first with this.
Mm-hmm.
The old friend is Claire.
Yep.
I wouldn't even say they were friends by the end of Extinction.
They just vaguely knew each other.
Yeah, they were
shared-
acquaintances.
They
were
shared
acquainted.
a truck at one point.
She got them into the helicopter, I guess.
And then said, "See you in Alaska."
Alright, so, things that we know about the film. We've got quite a few game characters in this one. We've got Claire. Chris is going to show up.
Mm-hmm.
Albert Wesker, obviously. This is the start of him being kind of a big character in these movies.
Yep.
He was in the last one, obviously, but he was more of a cameo in that one. In this
Yeah.
one, he is a character.
And what a character I hear he is.
Oh, yeah. Kmart is back, briefly.
God, why?
Why not? She's apparently the morality pet of the film. Go figure.
Ow.
I don't know. And then we also get a cameo right at the end of the movie from one Ms. Jill Valentine, again played by Sienna Guillory. So that'll be nice to see.
Yeah, going in on what I know is that obviously this movie was released, when was this, 2010?
Yep.
Okay, so this would have been a year after RE5 came out. I'm expecting and am aware of some elements from RE5 being present in this. Namely, obviously you have Chris and Wesker making an appearance. However, I'm also expecting a few little final tie-ins because, oh my god, they have basically stretched out using Code Veronica elements for 3 films now. They really have. I'm expecting a bit of Code Veronica, at least in the reunion of Chris and Claire. Other than that, yeah, I'm expecting a lot of RE5 elements, mainly, because that was the hot new game at the time.
This movie does primarily take place in a prison.
Mm-hmm. So it is kind of Code Veronica there.
And with regards to, like, RE5, this is when they decided that, hey, you know what? T-Virus zombies have bandables now, I guess.
This is when, because I know one of the producers for the games, Hiroyuki Kobayashi, he does do supervision on them. So he probably went, you know what? Hey, we have these in our new game now. You should put these things in here. You know, we have these things called Magini. You should maybe use them in your movie film, Mr. Anderson. You should use them very well. Thank you.
The issue that I have is, and I'll get into this more, not only after this movie, but definitely with next week's podcast, is that they don't. There's shades of Las Plagas.
That's
obviously.
what I've heard, yeah.
But they don't utilize it as strongly as I would hope they would. Like, you don't get any, like, crazy whip heads or, like, skittering centipedals.
Oh, that sucks. That's kind of like the fun of Las Plagas in the games. I mean, even when they're not that scary in 5, at least you have kind of the grotesque, unnatural stuff shooting out of people's heads.
Oh yeah, it's great. You don't get any of that, we just get the mandibles.
Don't you also get the kind of... I do believe, because I have seen clips, I believe that the... Is this the one with the Executioner?
The Executioner is in this, yes.
Okay, and also, I think it was the Ajule was the name of the dog type in 5. The dogs with the split open heads.
Yes, those show up at one point as well.
Okay, so those are what I'm expecting in terms of enemies and BOWs. I also know going in that there is a rather hilarious attempt at kind of doing a Chris and Wesker fight that I know channels elements of the fights that we saw in 5.
I believe it mixes in both the Chris Jill Wesker fights and
Chris,
also the
Chris
Sheva Wesker fights.
Going off of what I know, I think it's mainly doing that. I was going to say maybe the Code Veronica fight, but I don't think so. I think it's going to be more the 5 fights than the final showdown in Code Veronica. But also, I know that I'm expecting also, just as a side note, that I have a feeling this movie's going to have more going on in it than Extinction did, and I really hope it did.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I can say that with absolute certainty.
Like, even if it sucks, which I think it's going to, I want it to at least be a good kind of suck. Not a bad kind of suck.
This movie's not going to be good, but stuff happens in it.
Okay, thank God.
And we're going to get another one of those things, I mentioned this last time, where Extinction starts the trend of the beginning of each movie completely negating the protagonist's struggles from the last one.
Oh, God.
We're going to get that again in this one. And we're going to get a couple other really goofy things as well. I have made the joke on Twitter now that I think that Lou is going to make it 16 minutes into this movie before he feels like he needs to tap out, because I know exactly what happens, exactly what we're shown at the 16-minute mark, and I'm excited to see his reaction to that.
I'm really scared right now, people. If you don't hear from me again after this podcast, let it be known that Gage here broke me, and I'm probably lying in a ditch somewhere. Please find me, and please help me. But let's find out if I survive this movie and that 16-minute mark. Gage, do you have any other final statements?
Well, let's hope you survive it, because starting with this podcast, we're not putting these up until the week after they're recorded.
Oh God.
So
I will
you're going to be in that ditch for a while.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I can collect rainwater to survive and hydrate.
Other than that, we do get a few... I will say, just right off the bat, we do get a few negations of things established in the last movie. The things that I'm very thankful are negated. Specifically, the whole thing about how, like, oh, the T-virus dried up all the water on Earth.
Oh, thank God, that was so fucking stupid.
As this movie does take place in Los Angeles, it is on the coast of the U.S. We do have an ocean.
Yeah, we do.
We do have oceans that we will see several times. Alaska isn't doing too bad, apparently, as, was stated in the last movie. But yeah, so, like, this is the second of the movies that we're watching that I have seen and Lou hasn't.
Mm-hmm.
As we've mentioned several times over the last couple podcasts, Lou has only seen Resident Evil Apocalypse. Extinction was the first one of the ones that he hasn't seen.
Yep.
And Extinction didn't exactly give him high hopes for the rest of the series. Not that Afterlife is going to renew your hopes in the rest of the series, but you should still have fun with it.
Yeah, I think I'll at least have more to riff on, at least. That's all I want at this point, going onwards with this story.
Alright, you got any other thoughts? Anything else you know about the movie? Any expectations you have?
I'm going to hold off on one because I'm not sure if it takes place in this film or the next film, and I don't really want to be spoiled, so I want to go in and see if I'm right on this or not. So I don't really have anything else to add, no.
Alright, I'm expecting to have a good time. Like I said, I rewatched this and Retribution recently, and I had a lot of fun with them watching it on my own.
Mm-hmm.
So I can only imagine that it's just as fun, if not more fun, watching it with someone else.
Absolutely.
Honestly, that's just one of the best parts of these podcasts, is just watching movies with a buddy, making fun of them.
Exactly. I absolutely agree. That's what's made these fun. It's not so much the movies themselves, it's having somebody to watch them with and have a fun time just picking them apart and poking fun at them.
But yeah, so I think that's enough for the pre-show here. We're going to go check out this movie, and we will be right back.
Later, folks.
No! Don't go!
All right, and we are back.
Yes, we are. Oh.
Whew.
Wow.
That was fun. All right, so Lou, as the one of the two of us who has not seen the movie, you want to give us your immediate reactions?
Yeah, my immediate reactions are, it's fucking stupid, but it's a fun kind of dumb stupid with a friend. It's still a bad movie. Oh, it's a bad movie, but it's a fun, stupid bad movie to watch with somebody like you.
It's just like, man, after Extinction last week, like I was feeling kind of down because it's just like, man, that was really boring. Like we got some good stuff, some good conversation out of it, but man,
yeah,
what a dull ass movie. So it was really good to just get into Afterlife, and within not even 20 minutes in, you were already
I was losing it because, oh my God, that opening sequence is comedy gold to me.
It's so good.
It's all so fucking stupid, yet it's fucking incredible, and I was just cracking up at about all this shit. Yeah, oh my God. This movie is dumb. It's loud. It's obnoxious, but it's something more than Afterlife was. And I can also laugh at it.
We just watched Afterlife. You mean Extinction.
Extinction was. Excuse me. Well, again, I get the names mixed up. It's more than Extinction will ever be. And again, that doesn't make it a good movie. No. But it makes it a more entertaining film.
It's an enjoyable experience.
It's an enjoyable, yeah. It's not a bad
slog.
movie. It's not like I just was sitting there waiting for it to end. I was here having fun with laughing at it, basically.
And I mean, like, you know what? That's half the fun of watching these movies.
Exactly.
It's just like laughing at all their shit.
Yeah.
And like this movie had a lot to laugh at, and we'll definitely get into that once we get to like what we liked, what we didn't like. And I feel like there's going to be a lot of crossover between those two categories, I would say, because some of the stuff that was like the worst things that the film had to offer was also the greatest thing. Just so...
It really was.
So entertaining.
It really fucking was.
Let's dive into the plot overview.
Okay.
This movie opens on Tokyo, and it's Tokyo on the eve of the big outbreak.
The
You know, the one
biohazard outbreak, if you will.
Yeah, there you go.
Get it?
It's in
Because
Japan.
it's Japan.
So we
File
basically
2.
get this whole sequence that's just slow-mo at a crosswalk of a girl standing in the rain while people with umbrellas walk all around her. And then the salaryman walks up to her and he looks at her and she looks at him and she's like, "Nyah!" And then she bites him.
Yeah,
And suddenly everybody's
yamete!
freaking out.
Anase!
So then Alice starts narrating, explaining the plot of the last couple movies. And we cut forward 4 years later, where we then dive beneath the streets of Tokyo, where I guess Umbrella just has the biggest facility in the fucking world
Yeah.
going into the Earth's crust. And they are under siege by several Alices, by the Orboviches from the last movie.
It's basically Clone Wars, only by Clone Wars I mean basically it's Mila Jovovich as Alice, just green screen to infinity. It's like watching a Dark Souls match where every time you die, you just come back.
Truly, this is the Dark Souls of Resident Evil movies.
Oh, motherfucker, I walked into that.
I mean, you made that joke last time.
Oh god, I did, you're right.
Yep. So, I do need to bring something up here, because with the intro to this Resident Evil movie, we are up to 15 on-screen Alice deaths. We decided not to try and work out exactly how many Alice clones were present at the end of Extinction, just because that would be way too much work, and decided to just kind of go with whatever Alice clones on screen died, and there were a lot. All the Alice clones from the end of the last movie died.
Yeah, and it was actually really fucking hilarious.
So, Chairman Wesker manages to get out of the Umbrella headquarters in Japan and just fucking detonates the place. We'll get to Wesker.
I know, but...
So, he fucking detonates the place, and then Alice shows up, like the OG Alice numero uno, and she's just like, "Yo, what's up? I'm ready to kill you with my superpowers." And Wesker's just like, "I don't think so." And then he takes away Alice's superpowers, and we were just like, thank God.
Yeah, and even she thanks him by going, "Thank you for making me human again." And I'm like, yeah, thank you.
There's that pathos. There's that pathos I really like. I still really like that. So she's just like, "Thanks for making me human." Wesker, being an idiot and apparently not turning on his autopilot before he stepped away from the plane's controls, then crashes the ship.
Yeah, and they both end up waking up later, kinda.
Yep, and this is after Wesker has explained to Alice that he's what she used to be, only better. Where I guess they're both supposed to be weird teen mutants, but you know.
I guess, yeah, whatever. It was very vague.
Yeah, so Alice somehow finds a prop plane and flies to Alaska, where she sent fucking Claire and Big Lots off to at the end of the last movie. And she gets there, and then she finds a bunch of planes and some helicopters, and the helicopter that all of the remaining members of the convoy from the last movie had flown to Alaska in. Because, as you may remember, Alaska was where there was supposed to be no infection. It was a place called Arcadia.
Yep.
So she's just like, what the fuck? Where the fuck is everybody? This is bullshit. And she makes a vlog about how bullshit it is. And she's just like, "Hey, YouTube, this is bullshit." And then suddenly she sees something out of the corner of her eye, and she's like, who's there? "Hey, YouTube, I'm being stalked." And then she goes off, and she gets attacked by a dirty wild woman. And the dirty wild woman is like, "Yeah," and Alice is like, "Ah!" And then she knocks the dirty wild woman out, and it turns out, oh my god, it's Claire? Claire, what are you doing? Claire's got the fucking scarab on her chest, or the spider drone.
Yeah, like the thing.
It's meant to evoke the imagery of what was it called?
It was meant to be based off of the application device for the I am trying to remember the name of the chemical that was used on Jill.
You said it was something like P.
It was like P30. It was like P30 or something like that. I'll look it up.
So it's meant to evoke that kind of imagery.
It was P30.
Alice, of course, takes this thing off Claire without having to do some sort of obnoxious QuickTime event, and is just like, "Yo, this thing was attached to you. What the fuck is this? Where is everybody? where's Best Buy? And Claire's just like, because Claire has lost her memory. Because why wouldn't Claire lose her memory? So they fuck off down the western seaboard, and Alice is still making her vlog, and Claire's just like, yo, I've calmed down a little bit now. I'm sorry that I attacked you. And Alice is just like, yo, it's cool. Your name is Claire, by the way. My name is Alice, and I remember everything. So they're going down the eastern seaboard, and they show up in Battle Los Angeles, and Alice is just like, where the fuck are all the undead? Why aren't there any survivors? Where is everybody? Oh, there they all are. And they come upon a prison that I guess is just in the middle of Los Angeles. Like,
yeah, it
I'm
wasn't
thinking about
very
that now.
clear. Yeah, I'm wondering.
Why was there a prison in the middle of Los Angeles?
Well, because it's LA, and
Okay, that's fair. I don't know if that's fair. I don't know.
I don't know either. I apologize to anybody in LA if I have offended you.
So they find out that there are survivors holed up in this prison, and they're just like, shit, there's survivors holed up in that prison. And they manage to land the plane on the roof of the prison with the help of the survivors that are holed up in the prison. And the survivors that are holed up in the prison are like, yo, we're survivors that have holed up in this prison. And Alice is like, hello, survivors that are holed up in the prison. My name is Alice, and I remember everything. And we get some introductions to some of our characters. We get introduction to one Mr. Luther West, who is a pretty cool guy. I like his character. We get...
It's okay, I just dropped my phone case.
Is that what that was?
Yes! Oh, fuck, the power button broke.
Oh, fuck.
I have to superglue that shit later.
In the meantime, I will continue with the plot synopsis.
Oh, God.
So, we also get such memorable characters as Angel Ortiz, Kim Yong, Bennett, and Crystal.
Yay.
And also Wendell, eventually. And they're just a bunch of, like, movie-specific characters. Nobody gives a shit. What we really care about is that Luther shows Alice that, yo, there's a dude that was locked up when we got here. Here he is. And the dude comes out, and he's like, hi, my name is Wentworth Mill. I mean Chris. Are you going to prison break me out of this prison?
Maybe into a red field?
And Alice is just like, nah, bye. So they kind of fuck off on back to the fucking cafeteria area where Crystal is making some food. And we get some backstory for some of the characters. Crystal came to Hollywood to be a waitress. Or, no, she didn't. She came to Hollywood to be an actress. She ended up being a waitress. Bennett was a big-name producer. Kim was his intern. Luther was a basketball player who had a few lucrative brand deals that Alice recognizes him from. We don't get any info about Angel Ortiz.
We really don't. Yeah, no. We really don't. Yeah, golly, you're right.
Yeah, he's just kind of there to be Budget Carlos.
Yeah.
They're just like, well, did Arcadia sent you? Because we got Arcadia's message and we've been setting up flares. And Alice is just like, what, flares? How are you gonna get flares to Alaska, you silly billies? They're just like, what the fuck are you talking about?
You big goofers.
They show her that Arcadia is a freight ship just off the coast. And it's just kind of sitting there. And they're just like, they stopped sending out their message a little while back. And we've just kind of been sending up flares every so often to see if we can get their attention. We thought they sent you. And Alice is just like, nah, man. Nah.
Nah. Not my dude.
So they start thinking, you know what? We really need to like get over there and see if anyone's still alive. We need to get out of this. We need to break out of this prison. Who here could engineer a prison break? And Alice is just like, God, I just don't know. And then eventually Luther's just like, hey, you probably need to take a shower. Here's a shower. And Alice is just like, thanks, man. And then she's just like, I'm gonna disrobe now. Wait, I hear something. And then she finds, what's his face, Wendell, just kind of skulking around. And he's just like, I heard movement in the walls. And she's just like, I don't care. Stop perving on me. And then he gets eaten. And then they're just like, well, shit, now the zombies can get into the prison. And here we thought we were safe. How could we ever be so foolish? Then they're just like, how are we going to get out of here? And Alice is just like, well, we do have that one guy who says that he knows a way out of this prison, who says that he could engineer some kind of prison break. And they're just like, okay. And they let Chris out. And Chris is just like, man, lucky for you guys, I have the blueprints of this prison tattooed on my back. Wait a minute, Claire, is that you? And he's just like, yo, Claire, it's me, your brother, Chris. And Alice is just like, she lost her memory, she doesn't remember you. And Chris is just like, well, fuck, god damn it. And so he's just like, yo, there's a thing in here. It's a fucking armored personnel carrier thing. Or an urban pacification carrier.
Yeah, urban pacification carrier, there we go.
And he's just like, you guys gotta get this open so that we can get the fuck out of here. Alice and I will go get weapons. And then an executioner from RE5 shows up, despite the fact that it has no real business being in this movie. And it
Nor
just
any
starts lightly
explanation.
tapping.
Yeah, just it gingerly taps on the freaking wall. It doesn't try to smash it down. It is literally just gently booping it.
He's just like, bat, bat.
It's like,
I'm gonna
hey,
get you.
would you like to hear about the Lord?
So they fucking go and like Chris is just like, yo, Alice, the basement is all flooded, and that's where the weapons are, and the weapons are on the bottommost floor. We're gonna have to swim. And Crystal comes up and she's like, yo guys, I was topping swimming in high school. And Alice is just like, that makes you qualified. You look okay, get in. And then they all dive down and they manage to avoid drowning.
Good job.
And so they get out of the water. And then Crystal is immediately killed, like, without even finding
God, you're
weapons.
right. I totally forgot that.
Yeah, Crystal dies immediately after they get out of the water. And then they find an armory full of weapons, and Alice is like, nice.
No, you got it wrong. It's nice.
There you go. So they load up, and they get the fuck out of there through the vents. Meanwhile, Angel, Kim, and Bennett have opened up the urban pacification carrier garage. And Angel's just like, God damn it, the fucking engine isn't in the goddamn car. It's gonna take me a week to fucking fix this. Bleh! And then he's killed by Bennett. And Kim is just like, Bennett, what the fuck are you doing? And Bennett's just like, I'm a rich asshole. This is totally in line with what rich assholes act like. And Kim's just like, yeah, okay. So then they fuck off to the roof of the prison where the plane still is. Meanwhile, Luther and Claire are just like, shit, that thing's getting through the gates. Wait, where the fuck did Bennett go? What the fuck? So everybody just kind of converges on the roof. Bennett gets away with the plane. Kim, Chris, Luther, and Claire take the express elevator down to the level where they can go through the showers, because that's where the zombie had burrowed through earlier.
Yeah.
And Alice is like, I'm gonna just kind of bungee jump off here, hope that's cool. And then she does so, and she sticks the landing really well, despite the fact that she fell from like 30 feet in the air. And then she just kind of opens up on these zombies with her shotguns full of quarters, which doesn't actually work. Little fun fact for you.
I was going to say, that felt really weird.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work like that. So then she gets inside, and they're just like, well, I guess we're going to have to go through the storm, or go through the hole that the zombies fucking tunneled. And they're just like, what? Why would we do that? Well, because if you can smell properly, the tunnel leads to the sewers lead to the storm drain leads to the sea, and then we can get to the boat. And they're just like, oh, yeah, okay. So Chris jumps into the tunnel. Luther jumps into the tunnel. Kim's just like, oh, I don't know that I can do this. And Claire's just like, hey, man, don't worry. It's going to be okay. And then the executioner shows up, fucking chops Kim in half, like totally unceremoniously.
I remember that. The worst.
And then there's a big dumb fight that between the executioner, Alice, and Claire, that Alice is actually out of commission for most of it, which is kind of neat. Claire gets a bit of a chance to shine. The whole thing only takes like 20 seconds real time, but is really kind of like dragged out with a lot of slow-mo.
Yeah.
But eventually they just kill the executioner by blowing his fucking head up. And they hop into the tunnel. And then Luther's just like, yo, where's Kim? And they're just like, oh, dude, he got fucking sliced in half by a goddamn executioner. You should have seen it. It was fucking sick. And then they follow Chris's lead, and they end up in the storm drain. But then Luther is snatched by a zombie, and we don't know what happens to him for a while. So Claire, Chris, and Alice are in the storm drain, and they just kind of walk around. They manage to get to the sea. They manage to find a boat. They get over to the Arcadia, and they're looking around, and it's just like, there's fucking nobody here. Where the fuck is everybody? So they head up to the control room, and they're just like, what the fuck? And Chris is just like, yo, check out this computer screen. Check out this file I found. I'll add it to my files. And it's saying that, like, there's, like, still, like, 2,000 people on board. P.S. They never show 2,000 people. They
don't.
grossly overestimate how many extras they were able to cast. But Chris is just like, there's still a bunch of people on board. And Alice and Claire are just like, well, shit, we gotta find them. So they're fucking searching around the whole ship, and they're just like, shit, where could they be? And they go down into the hold, and they're just like, where the fuck could they be? Oh, god damn it. And they see this giant door that has the fucking umbrella logo on it.
Yeah!
Because, boy howdy, if you thought we were done with dumb things being umbrella branded, whew, we get tables in this one. So they enter the doorway, and they enter this big white room. They're just like, what the fuck? What the fuck? And fucking Claire over here picks up an iPad, and she's just like, look, this is where everybody is. And she's like going through the list, and she's like, look, it's Kmart. And Kmart is actually listed on the fucking inventory as Kmart, which is hilarious.
Yeah, oh my god.
And they do the whole fucking... It's basically that one scene from Minority Report where he goes down to, like, the incarceration, except it's a lot less cool. But everybody's basically in tubes, and they're just like, whoa, oh my god, it's Kmart! And they find Kmart, and they're just like, oh man, thank god we found this extremely important character, Kmart. And Alice is just like, yeah, cool. And she kind of wanders off. And she finds some tubes stained with blood. And it's just like, ooh, that's kind of spooky. But then they ruin it with a jump scare.
Yeah, they really do.
And she ends up in a hangar of sorts, full of planes. And she kind of walks through there following a blood trail. Meanwhile, Chris has also discovered the same blood trail, and he follows.
Hope this is not Chris's blood trail.
So Alice ends up in a room with a couple, little sort of like medical tables with some weird drained corpses on them. And there's a bunch of screens in front of her, and she starts walking forward, and she's like, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? And then suddenly Wesker's there, and Wesker's just like, yo, what's up? And Alice is just like, how the fuck did you survive? And Wesker's just like, oh, you know, T-virus. And Alice is just like, oh. And then Wesker's just like, but you see, because I took so much damage, now I need to feed on fresh DNA in order to stay in control. And also Bennett shows up, and he's just like, yo, drop your guns. And he's not looking so good. And Alice is just like, you're not looking so good, Bennett. And she kicks his guns to him. And Wesker's got a pair of zombie dogs. And then somehow Claire and Chris teleport in.
Yeah, from the completely wrong end of the room from where they previously were.
They found a shortcut. They found the armor key, and that allowed them to take a shortcut around to the other side of the room. I've been playing a lot of Remake, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I forgive you because Remake's a good game.
So Chris and Claire are just like, yo, Wesker, we have absolutely no stake in your specific character arc. Neither do you have any stake in our character arcs, unlike literally all of the histories between our characters set up in the video games.
Yeah.
But let's have a big dumb fight anyway. And Wesker throws his glasses at the screen, and Chris catches them, and then they have a big dumb fight that takes parts of some of the big dumb fights from RE5. Notably, some of the moments from, like, the Chris-Jill Wesker fight and the Chris-Sheva Wesker fight, as we mentioned.
Yeah. And it somehow makes them genuinely hilarious.
And it's just
great.
I remember watching these scenes before I had played any of the games and thinking, wow, this looks really, really dumb. I can't believe they got away with this blatant of a Matrix ripoff.
And then you played 5.
And then I played 5, and I realized that's actually what they do in 5. And now I can't hate the movie for that as much anymore. It's not their fault. That was already established. Wesker, of course, outclasses Chris and Claire super hard, using a bunch of his dumb teleporting moves and his super speed. And then, like, he walks up to Alice, and he's just like, rather than use any of my dumb teleporting moves and super speed, I'm just gonna bring out my big dumb Magini mandibles. And this is after Alice has killed the Magini dogs. She's just like, I'm gonna stab you in the forehead, I guess. And she does, and Bennett's just like, grah! And then fucking Big Lots over here shows up. Wait, no, I did Big Lots already. Dollar General over here shows up, and she bops Bennett in the back of the head, and she tosses Alice one of her quarter guns, while Wesker gets back up and brings out even more of his big dumb Magini mandibles, and Alice just kind of shoots him in the head. And it's just like, wow, that was way easier than what Chris and Claire had to deal with. That's kind of bullshit. So Wesker has, like, a big dumb hole in his head, and Alice goes and frees Chris and Claire, and Wesker starts to get back up, and then Chris and Claire walk over to him, step on him, and Chris is just like, I don't think so. And then Chris and Claire shoot Wesker like a shitload of times, and it's actually kind of a really cool scene, because it's just like, this is very cathartic. And Lou's over here just like, this is exactly what I'm going to do if Wesker's back in RE7.
Exactly, with the I don't think so line.
So then they just kind of leave, and Bennett's just like, wait, no, don't leave me behind. I was the producer. You're going to live to regret this. And he's like screaming on this like screen outside of the door they lock him behind, and then Chris shoots it in a moment that's actually kind of genuinely funny.
Yeah, because he risked blowing his own brains out from inside of a tiny bulletproof tube.
Yeah, no, there's that as well. But Chris just like silently shoots the screen that Bennett's screaming at him from, and it's really good. And I'm glad they didn't ruin that with a one-liner, because then Chris just walks away just like, I'm so tired of this shit.
Yeah, that was actually pretty good, yeah.
And then Wesker gets back up, and he eats the fuck out of Bennett. He ingests fresh DNA. And then they just kind of walk around, and they're just like, hey, everybody, how's everybody doing? Hope everybody's feeling better. Oh, no, Wesker's escaping. And then one of the weird whirligigs in the fucking hangar there.
I think they're VTOLs, yeah. The VTOLs.
I'm just going to call them whirligigs.
Okay.
That thing's launched. And Wesker's just like, haha, got away again. I'm so cool. And then he's just like, I guess I'll just purge that whole ship. Because that's what he did at the beginning when he fucking blew up Tokyo, I guess. And Alice is just like, shit, come on, you guys. And Wesker's just like, wait a minute, what's that beeping sound? And then he looks behind a bunch of bags, and it turns out that at some point Alice had snuck the bomb that would have blown up the ship onto the whirligig. And Wesker's just like, man... And then he gets his fucking G.I. Joe parachute moment.
Yeah, oh my god.
Just kind of barely noticeable parachute to let you know he's not dead while his fucking whirligig blows up. And Alice is just like, didn't want you guys to miss that. Also, Luther saw the whole thing because Luther survived. Yay! And then Alice is just like, we gotta live up to the promise of Arcadia. Hey guys, there's no fucking infection here. You should all just totally just kind of come hang out with us. It's totally safe and everything is fine. And then a bunch of other whirligigs show up, and they're all full of the Umbrella Corps, and it's just like, oh, well, I guess they're not fine anymore. I guess they can't deliver on the promise.
Yeah.
Oh no, sequel.
Whoa, looks like we're gonna have to face some retribution for these actions.
Also, Jill is there in her RE5 getup.
With blonde wig and everything.
Yeah, complete with blonde hair.
Which I
the
was not
movie
expecting.
ends.
Yeah, and then the movie ends on the credits.
On the credits. And that is the entire plot of Resident Evil Afterlife. So, without further ado, let's launch into what we liked. This movie was fun.
Yes, it was.
I had a lot of fun with this movie. To go and compare it to Extinction, I was happy with the fact that things kept happening in this movie, that the plot kept moving forward. I appreciated that a lot. Movie Claire is still Movie Claire, but she's a little bit more Claire this time around.
Yeah, she's a smidge more Claire. I'd still say overall that compared to Claire in the games, who is somebody I really like. I'm a big just as a side note, Gage can tell you, anybody can tell you, I'm a big fan of the Redfields. They are some of my favorite characters in the series. She feels more like Claire. She felt like more like a character that I could get behind. And she had some really good moments in this. I actually like that she got to take on the Executioner more than I expected she would in this. Mm-hmm. So that was really good, yeah. I did like Claire in this. Not perfect, but again, Larder does her best. She didn't have, again, it all comes down to, she didn't have great material to work with a lot of this, but she was still really good. She gave her best. So
and
I really commend that.
She looked like Claire.
Yeah, she did look more like Claire, yeah. I'm still the nerd fanboy who's like, you could do a ponytail. You could do a ponytail and you'd be 100%, but I'm good with it. She did have, basically, her Code Veronica outfit, more or less, which I thought was a really nice touch. I actually really liked that, and that was one of those things from the last movie that I thought was really missing, was she didn't look like Claire, basically. That was a really good touch.
And then, on the topic of Redfields, I can tell you that Lou was very happy to see his boy on screen.
Yeah.
It's your boy, Chris Redfield.
My boy, Chris Redfield. Chris is one of my favorite characters in the series. Always has been. So it was a delight to see Chris. Miller, he was an interesting casting choice, but honestly, I thought he did an okay job.
Yeah, he did pretty good.
This is obviously, this is a very different Chris from what we get in the games. They did kind of carry over some things. Like the military experience I felt was kind of like, okay, yeah, Chris in the games, obviously former Air Force pilot, all that. So you had the military experience, and he did kind of give off that Roger Craig Smith delivery of Smith's delivery in 5. So I liked that. He was a pretty good Chris. I actually like him quite a bit.
Yeah, I remember watching this movie originally and being just like, oh, he's like a brooding bad boy, and then it's just like, that was just kind of my initial reaction to him.
Yeah.
And then after having like played more of the games, specifically more of the games with Chris in them, things like Resident Evil Remake, or Resident Evil 1, or Resident Evil 5, or RE6, looking back on Wentworth Miller's performance in this one, I would say he kind of carries himself like Chris a little bit more.
He does.
I would say.
He does. He also has some of Chris's a little bit of Chris's snark, especially from 5. You can tell they were really going very fresh off of 5 in a lot of ways, especially with Chris's kind of deadpan delivery of some of the one-liners and whatnot. So I really like that, and he was good. He wasn't. I will say, from in terms of looks, there was a little bit of me that was like, he didn't quite like if I would have thought of actors, I can't think of any actors though who would have really honed in the Chris look, but I think he looked well enough. The one thing I would say was the okay, yeah, I've got my sister Claire here thing was, since we didn't have that really set up in the last movie, I could expect from, say, a non-game fan that would have been out of left field.
Oh, yeah.
But they did fix it up. They tried to kind of cover for that kind of goof in the last film.
Yeah, I would say, out of all the things that kind of made him feel a little bit less Chris, it was probably the haircut and the outfit.
Yeah, the haircut definitely. Oh god, the haircut definitely. And the outfit definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
There was no green.
I would say there wasn't any green, no. I would say we have a pretty good cast this time around.
Yeah.
It's another one of those situations where I don't think anybody really phones in their performance.
Not even Wesker?
Not even Wesker. Like, fucking... Hold on, I gotta find that actor's name.
I was gonna say, who is that actor?
Sean Roberts. Sean Roberts is having a hell of a time as Wesker. And let's talk about Wesker briefly.
Oh my
god. Your favorite joke about the movie version of Wesker is a Red Letter Media joke.
It wasn't even a Red Letter Media joke about him looking like the porn parody. That was just me. Like,
that was just you?
That was just me.
I thought it was a Red Letter Media thing. But yeah, no. Like, your favorite joke is that he looks like a porn parody version
and he does.
The actual Albert Wesker. And I agree with you. I would like to add a caveat to this.
Yeah.
I would like to add the caveat that he doesn't just look like the porn parody version of Albert Wesker. He looks like the porn parody version of the live-action actor from RE1 for Wacky
Oh
Wesker.
my god, he does.
I would like to add that caveat.
Oh my god, and he... like, I was talking to Gage, and Gage can tell you, the part where I lost it... Well, I lost it with any scene of Wesker on screen, because number one, the guy is clearly... You can tell the guy, Sean Roberts, he is clearly was given, or at least looked up, I don't know what the case would have been, but he clearly had studied D.C. Douglas's performance of Wesker in RE5. That's obviously what he's going off of, is the more charismatic and overacting Wesker than anything else in the
complete
global
saturation.
And it gets and it shows. It's completely ham and cheese. It's completely ridiculous. I was losing my shit. And it gets to the point of, oh god, no, it got to the point, and Gage can back me up here, where I completely lost my shit, both in a way of laughing and also almost kind of getting enraged, when Sean Roberts Wesker clearly and blatantly and without, he quoted fucking 5. Yeah. He quoted fucking 5 twice in a row, because he goes, isn't this one big family reunion, and then follows that right the fuck up with, you've really become quite an inconvenience for me, which is just like, okay, yeah, we get it. The director fucking rented Resident Evil 5, and played the game. And I was just like, oh my god, Wesker in this is comedy gold. Because he is so ridiculous in both his appearance. It doesn't just feel like the adult film parody thing that I said there. It also feels like a cosplayer. Because it feels like they got some guy to cosplay Wesker and go, okay, ham it up as much as possible. And let's throw in a bunch of bullshit, like the absolute hilarity that is having what is essentially a Plaga, a Majini kind of mouth thing, because he has the T-virus for no fucking reason. And they use it twice. And it gets even better because then he's using the fucking mouth tentacles, doesn't really get to do much with them. It's the feeding on DNA thing, which, oh my god, they brought that shit back, which was cracking me up to no fucking end, that of all the obscure shit from the first film, they brought that back. But then it's the fact that you get the shot of him on the ground after Alice has blown a fucking sawed-off shotgun through his mouth.
Full of quarters.
Full of quarters. With a chunk of his brain missing. Gets up like nobody's goddamn business. And it's just like, oh my god. Though I will commend this movie's Wesker. Because he essentially acted as the audience would have, and the fucking fanboys like myself would have, with Alice basically becoming level 5 fucking 100 Mary Sue. Of going, oh yeah, I got rid of your abilities. And yeah, I've neutralized all of your psychic power robot clone. And it almost felt like a jab at it almost felt like Paul giving a jab at himself, basically. Which is what cracked me up there.
Well, it's kind of one of these things, because I'm going to kind of compare this to some other film series here for a second.
Yeah.
So let's roll back a year to something that we mentioned a little bit earlier in this podcast.
Yes.
So, 2009, X-Men Origins Wolverine comes out, where Wolverine is undeniably the main character. You can't be just like, oh, Wolverine's the main character of the X-Men movie. It's just like, no, it's called the X-Men. You're all the main character. No, Wolverine is undeniably the main character of the X-Men Origins Wolverine film. And generally, when you're watching an action movie, when you're watching any movie, there's supposed to be some kind of plot conflict. There's supposed to be some kind of tense, will he succeed, won't he succeed, sort of conflict going on in you as you're watching it. As a lot of people pointed out with X-Men Origins Wolverine, it's hard to really feel any sort of tension when the guy that you're following can basically recover from any injury.
Yeah.
Like, if nothing can stop him, why are we to feel any sort of, like, worry? What are the stakes if he can survive anything? So, fast forward a couple more years to 2013, we get a movie called The Wolverine. Now, The Wolverine was the second Wolverine vehicle that Hugh Jackman and, like, everybody involved in it were basically, okay, we want to try this again, we want to try to do it right. And the one of the major conflicts in The Wolverine is that Wolverine loses his healing factor.
Yep.
So there is actually a big question over the course of the movie. Could Wolverine potentially die? Does he care if he dies? Does he want to die? Because, you get him having, like, severe PTSD over having to kill Jean Grey at the end of X-Men The Last Stand. So, Wolverine has the potential to die over the course of the Wolverine. He gets his healing factor back, but for a while, you're kind of wondering, like, is this what he wants? Is this what he would prefer? So on and so forth. And that's kind of the big thing, is that if you have a character who's so stupid overpowered, such as Wolverine or such as Project Alice, there's a certain degree to where if you want the audience to be able to connect with them, if you want the audience to be able to feel like there are any real stakes, you need to bring them down a few pegs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where it comes from in this movie, with Wesker fucking stabbing Alice in the neck with a syringe and unleashing a bunch of little fucking weird microbes into her bloodstream to neutralize the T-virus. T-virus, of course, actually shaped like little T's.
That was the part that you were trying to make me tap out at. I was losing it at that shit. God damn it.
I
didn't tap out.
You didn't tap out, and bravo to you for that. I did sort of bet that, yeah, 16 minutes is when you'd be like, okay, this is too much. But you kept going, and I guess that's
I
just
was
the
laughing
power
too
of,
hard. It was comedy fucking gold.
I guess that's just the power of alcohol. Anyways, so yeah, like that's pretty much what that is. And you know, like I said, I like how this movie just kind of keeps going. I like how it doesn't really just to sort of compare it to another movie series and compare it honestly to its own movie series. This movie kept moving over the course of its 92-minute runtime.
It did, yeah, it definitely did.
Which Extinction didn't have. Now, this is good. This is really good, and I appreciate that. The only issue that I would have with this is more or less that what we sacrifice in order to get, like, this constant moving forward, this really quick, really tight pacing, is that we lose a lot of sort of the slower, quieter moments that you and I have kind of come to enjoy from the last three movies.
Yeah.
Things like scenes in The Hive, things like the church scene, the school scene, the scene in the lab in Extinction. We don't have any of that really in this one. The closest thing that we get is the scene at the boat on the end, with Alice, Chris, and Claire kind of searching around. We get some, like I said, we get a nice scene where they're kind of freeing everybody, and then Alice comes upon a couple tubes that are just covered in blood. Of course, that is then ruined by a weird jump scare, and then they're kind of searching through, like, the hold and everything, and there's a lot of, like, setup where it's just like, okay, we have an abandoned ship, where is everybody? This computer we found said that there's a bunch of people somewhere on this ship. We need to search the ship to find them. That's a very Resident Evil setup.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that I appreciated. It's a lot like, say, the White Queen being like, I've contained this monster in the lower levels, you need to go kill it. But it doesn't last quite as long due to the fact that I guess we just need to get more action in there. Alice being depowered is pretty nice. Like I said, it plays into the sort of pathos that I really like them giving Alice, where she's just like, I'm finally human again. I'm no longer this big, dumb T-virus monster. And it gave a couple guys a chance to no-sell her, most notably the Executioner, and most of that fight being handled by Claire. That was pretty nice.
I agree, yeah, absolutely. I do like essentially how there was actually shit going on in this movie, basically. And I liked, I did like Sienna Guillory's cameo at the end, by the way. That was actually very nice. Again, I was kind of surprised they went with the blonde wig, but I mean, again, RE5 Jill was blonde for convoluted reasons, and so they just went and ran with that. So that was a nice little scene at the end there. And yeah, I really fucking loved just seeing all the fucking Alice clones just mangled. It was comedy gold to me. That whole scene was just fucking hilarious.
Alright, so let's go ahead and get into stuff that we would change. Now, I think one of the big ones is that, again, as what was started in Extinction, we are moving farther and farther away from kind of the tone of the series, where you made the observation as we were going along that we've basically abandoned all pretense of horror.
We really have, yeah. There is no horror in this movie. Yes, you have zombies. Yes, you have monsters. Yes, you have killing. None of it is really scary. It's just disposable bullet fodder, basically. The zombies really don't do anything. You don't get anybody really... Come to think of it, I just realized now. You don't get any scenes of like somebody getting infected and... No, you do get...
No. You don't.
You really don't. You really don't. Yeah, because the Patient Zero case in Japan, that whole scene is just like, yeah, no. There's none of that. The zombies are basically, at this point, just fodder for shooting some bullets into. There's no sense of real dread from the T-virus at all. There's no real sense of dread in general. It's just a matter of, okay, we need something to shoot. We need an enemy out there. It has basically become fully loud. It has become very bright, might I add. And it's just very much, it's an action film. It is out and out. This is just an action film. I think that's going to be how it is for the next two films as well. So I would have changed it to at least have a bit more of the actual scares in this.
Yeah, like you said, we don't really get a lot of that. And, you know, I miss it.
I do too.
I would even take, like, the scenes in the lab from Extinction.
Oh, I would take those any day, yeah. God, yeah.
I will say that we'll never really get to the point of, like, Alice being the scene stealer as much as she was in, say, Apocalypse.
Thank God.
Or at least I don't think we would. Obviously, I have not seen final chapter yet.
We will next week. 2
Yeah,
weeks from
we
now.
will, I guess.
2 weeks or 2 weeks from now.
Well, we're going to record our pre-show next week, and
Yeah.
then Lord only knows when we're going to get a chance to record, like, anything else. But basically, we're never going to get to that level again for the rest of the movies that I know of. It's just, yeah, we get, like, this one and Retribution are big dumb action movies.
Yeah.
Alice does kind of come in to steal the scene a couple times in this.
Oh, yeah, she totally does.
Only because, like, it's nice that we get a little bit more focus on, like, say, the game characters. Like, we get Claire taking on the Executioner. We get Chris and Claire taking on Wesker, as dumb as it was. And it means that there is a little bit more focus, but in each of those cases, you know, Claire taking on the Executioner, Claire manages to get a shot in on the Executioner, but the final blow is dealt by Alice. Chris and Claire have a shitload of trouble fighting Wesker, but then, like, who does Wesker conveniently forget all of his powers when he's fighting? Alice, and he doesn't even really fight her. He just kind of pulls out his mandibles and just like, blah! And then Alice stabs him and then shoots him in the head. And it's just like, Alice just kind of gets a couple scenes where you watch it and you're just like, oh yeah, that's right, she's the developer's wife. Or excuse me, the director's wife.
Director's wife, yeah.
And I mean, I would, obviously, we get a little bit more, because, as you may recall, I made this observation back during Apocalypse. I think it was Apocalypse, where I would have preferred that Alice was a bit more of a Max Rockatansky style character, where she's a lot more of an ascended secondary character.
Yeah.
And honestly, over the course of Extinction and Afterlife, she's leaned a little bit more in that direction. It's going to go away a little bit with Retribution, and I would assume Final Chapter, just because of how I know Retribution ends. But overall, like, she's downplayed a little bit more in, like, the last couple movies, and, like, I appreciate that, but it kind of, like, breaks the sort of, like, illusion of that when in the end you have her being the one that delivers, like, the killing or victorious blows in two of the bigger sort of fight scenes in the movie. So yeah, definitely, like, would have preferred more horror, would have appreciated it if, like, Chris or Claire had gotten more of a chance to sort of, like, be the big hero. Like, that's kind of Chris's entire motif.
Yeah, it is. Chris is usually kind of like essentially you could argue that Chris is the kind of the poster child protagonist. He obviously, he and Jill. So, and that did make it kind of weird.
Chris is more likely to be the one to be like, let me play nice guy for once.
Yeah, would you mind letting me play the hero for once? Haha, remake. But yeah, and that was another one of those bits that was the Chris and Claire bit. I get what they were going for from a fan service perspective. I really get what they were going for.
They didn't capitalize it on it that much.
They didn't, and also without the connection that the characters would have had, since you're going into this where it's like, yeah, these characters don't really know Wesker.
No, they wouldn't. They have no reason.
They have no reason to fight him, so it's like, okay, you guys are fighting him, all right. Like a Joe Schmo viewer would just go, okay, these two are fighting him, all right.
I guess. Because, like, if you kind of roll it back, because, as I mentioned back during Apocalypse, there's the implication that RE1, to some extent, happened.
Yeah.
Like, the events of the first Resident Evil game, to some extent, happened. And that's going to kind of continue as we get into Retribution. The issue here is that, was Wesker involved with that if it did happen? We don't really know. We don't really have a way to know. It's entirely possible. What we do know for a fact is that Chris almost certainly was not involved. Because as this movie establishes, Chris was never a member of the STARS unit. There's no BSAA in the movie version of Resident Evil. So all Chris gets to be is a military man. So he was never at that mansion. Jill could have been at that mansion based on how she carried herself in Apocalypse. but Chris was never there. Resident Evil 2 could have happened. We never really get a moment where, like, the movie Claire and the movie Leon interact, unfortunately. Because Claire isn't going to be in the next movie. And Chris isn't going to be in the movies for, like, the rest of the series. The only one who's going to be coming back, as far as I know, is Claire and Wesker.
Oh, so Chris doesn't come back for Retribution?
No, the only characters that we're getting for Retribution from the games are Jill, Wesker, Leon, Ada, and Barry.
Okay.
And Carlos, also.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so 6 characters. So that's obviously the most game-adapted characters that we've had in a movie so far.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That's pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to watching Retribution again.
Maybe, honestly, one thing just on the note of it, have a reason for... Well, I guess they did have reasons for starting out in Tokyo. It's just that opening scene was kind of weird. It was like, okay, that was out of nowhere with the outbreak and attack, and they didn't really spend a lot of time there, just the actual showing the city streets. But I mean, I guess that was mainly just to be like, okay, here we go into the headquarters, so...
Yeah, establishing. And I mean, Umbrella's headquarters being in Tokyo was something that was established at the end of the last film.
I'd forgotten that. You're right, they actually had. But I thought, no, wasn't in that case, though, the streets were still kind of normal, or was I wrong there?
As far as I know, it wasn't that the streets were normal, it was just that it was raining.
Okay, so there were zombies out there on the streets. That's all I couldn't remember.
Pretty sure. I can go back and take another look. I still haven't gone back to check to see if there are herbs in Isaac's lab, but that'll definitely be something that I take a look at. Something that I believe I brought up last podcast, and that I brought up while we were watching the movie, was that... So, here's the thing. The Magini Mandibles and the Executioner come out of absolutely fucking nowhere, if you're not really thinking about it.
Yeah.
Which, big dumb action movie, maybe you're not thinking about it, that's fine. It would have been worth it to have sort of kind of an establishing thing, saying that, like, oh, either they're still developing new creatures, or like, oh, the zombies are evolving all on their own.
Yeah, like say the T-virus has mutated further or something just to justify that.
Yeah, because the big thing is that, like, Extinction establishes that Umbrella is still making things. They're still developing horrible monsters. Because you get the scene of Isaacs making the fast zombies, and all of that, and trying to, like, domesticate them. So they're still developing things. That's the purpose for those scenes. So you could look at the Executioner and be like, okay, so Umbrella developed something new, and it has gotten out into the world. There is literally no explanation, literally no reason why all of the standard cannon fodder zombie undead characters and zombie undead enemies should have Magini Mandibles. They just have them.
They just kind of have them out of nowhere.
And they're going to have them for the next movie as well, and which is weird because in the next movie we'll also get Las Plagas. Admittedly, a kind of dumbed down version of Las Plagas, but Las Plagas nonetheless.
Yep.
So just sort of like re-establishing that, I think, would have been important, or at the very least, like you said, saying something like, oh, we've been doing research, the T-virus has been mutating on its own. We had that whole setup of, oh, we're at Umbrella's headquarters in Tokyo. You could have had any number of establishing a scene with, like, a scientist explaining that to Wesker, who was, like, already there before the Alice clones start showing up and wrecking shit. And then, what the fuck is an Executioner doing in Los Angeles anyway if the North American branch of Umbrella has been fucking decimated by Alice already by the end of Extinction?
Yeah, it's like, what's the whole... They don't
Where
offer
did
any
he come
explanation.
from?
They don't offer any explanation as to what he's doing there. Nobody even acknowledges at any point that he's even there, other than, okay, yeah, there's this guy tapping on things and he comes into the showers. That's it.
No, he shows up, and remember, they're just like, what the fuck is that thing? And it's just like, that's a really good question. Let's never address that.
Oh god, you're right. I hadn't even remembered that. It's just like, yeah, he's here. He's your guy. He's the special boy.
He's the special boy. Here comes the special boy. So, to kind of go back to, like, this whole thing of comparing this to other movies. Now, here's the thing about Afterlife, about Retribution, and about a lot of other movies that came out around sort of like the same couple of years that these movies came out in. This was when 3D really started to regain popularity. This was after Avatar would have come out. So 3D was becoming a hot commodity once more, and Afterlife was the first of 2 Resident Evil movies to be whisked into cinemas on the promise of 3D viewing. So what we end up getting is a lot of really unfortunate 3D gimmicks. It's not the gimmickiest 3D movie I've ever seen, and I'm going to get into that, but there are definitely a lot of shots that you can look at and you're just like, okay, this was a shot that was essentially made for them to put into 3D. I'm talking about like fucking quarters flying at the screen, Alice bringing her guns up, and like the depth of field is really weird.
Oh god, yeah. The fucking shuriken throws at the start.
Oh yeah.
The dogs lunging.
That whole opening sequence.
Oh god, that opening sequence is like
to be 3D porn.
They shot their 3D wad, basically.
Essentially, yeah. So one of the things that I always find really hilarious about 3D movies is how much the advertising for those movies depends on that 3D, where it's to the point where when I was younger, I would watch a trailer for a 3D movie, and I would see that, and I'm just like, okay, so this is just basically a bunch of different unrelated scenes shot in 3D right next to each other. Clearly, there is no plot that could be tying all of this together, because that's just kind of the feel that it gave. I'm talking Resident Evil Afterlife, Resident Evil Retribution, fucking Saw 3D, and like I said, this isn't the gimmickiest movie, but I am going to kind of tie this back to this idea of them kind of abandoning the quieter moments. Now, as we've mentioned a couple times, the 2 big horror franchises in gaming have both had movie series. Obviously, Resident Evil has been more
prevalent and
successful.
Yeah, because Quiet Mountains has only had 2 so far.
Yeah, Silent Hill has had exactly 2 movies, and it suffers from more or less the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like for us to watch the Silent Hill movies together. I think I would need to convince you to run through the Silent Hill games first.
Well, you don't need to convince me. It's just a matter of getting my hands on good versions of them, in my case.
Right. You have a PS3. You can get the first game.
I have the first game. I just haven't finished it. I need to restart it. It's the matter of like 2 and 3 that I need to get my hands on.
I will tell you, in order to experience the story,
yeah,
HD collection, not that bad. You can still kind of experience the story. It has plenty of issues still, even with the PS3 patch.
If I could get like a cheap enough version of HD version, I'll do that then. It has been a matter of, just as a side note, yeah, I did start Silent Hill 1 a few years ago, actually, and I do like it. It's just a matter of I need to go back and play the whole thing.
Don't worry. I can help you.
Radio? What's a radio doing here?
What's going on with that radio? Anyways, so Silent Hill 1 came out, and I've seen people talk about Silent Hill 1. I have a very good commentary track for Silent Hill 1 done by a couple of my favorite Let's Players, that one of the things that they talk about a lot is how there's a lot of scenes in the movie that's just kind of boring. Nothing really happens. But the cool thing about Silent Hill 1, and what makes Silent Hill 1 one of my favorite video game adaptations, if not my absolute favorite video game adaptation, is because of those scenes. Mm-hmm. Because these scenes are thick with atmosphere. They have you just like, we get like these moving cameras, we get these quiet moments where it's just like there's no soundtrack. It makes you feel like anything could be around. It's very, very true to the atmosphere of the games.
There's a sense of ambiance. I've seen a little bit of the original Silent Hill movie, the first Silent Hill movie. There's a sense of just the game ambiance there, which I think is really beneficial to it. It feels creepy, it feels eerie, it feels off. It feels like they actually paid attention to what it is that fans loved about those games in terms of that kind of sinister atmosphere, that eerie, otherworldly feel. It feels like the games in just the look and the feel of the environment there, which is what I commend about it.
Right, now here's the thing. So, that movie was directed by Christophe Gans, who I believe is a Frenchman. Now, fast forwarding a few years, we get to 2012?
2012, I think it was 2012, 2013,
Somewhere around there, where we get a blitz of Silent Hill media. Fucking Downpour, Book of Lost Memories. No, it's Downpour and Book of Memories. Just Book of Memories. Downpour, Book of Memories, and Revelations come out in the exact same year. Because Konami was, I guess, just kind of giving it one last go before they decided to cancel the whole thing.
They gave the old college try.
Now, Michael J. Bassett, despite claiming to be a fan of the games, directs the movie Silent Hill Revelation, releases it to theaters. It sucks.
As I've heard.
One of the biggest red flags for that is the fact that, he's talking about how, a lot of people didn't really like this kind of the slow pace of the first movie.
He means teenagers.
We're going to make a movie that's tighter, that's things are happening all the time, and it's just like, okay, all right, yeah, yeah, sure, okay. The movie comes out, there's exactly one scene that has any atmosphere in it, and it is a very brief moment, and then it's gone. And for the whole movie, it's just action, 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 and it's not good action. Silent Hill Revelation wishes it could be Resident Evil Afterlife. It wishes it could be Retribution.
That's bad.
Yeah, and if we watch that movie, we can talk about it more, but it's just it's kind of like this movie, where this movie managed to get by on just being kind of goofy, kind of silly, and just dumb action. And it did it wonderfully.
Mm-hmm.
Because it had a lot of things working for it, and, there's a level on which I appreciate that. Silent Hill Revelation didn't have any of that, and in both cases, we've lost some of the better parts of the previous films in the series, where it's sort of like those quiet, slow moments that really capture the feel of the games that made those games as popular as they were in the first place. You feel like this great sense of dread, this great sense of claustrophobia running around the Spencer fucking mansion in RE1 or RE Remake, just kind of like, are you going to turn the corner and see some monster? What's that sound you're hearing? How are you going to get around whatever you could run into in these fucking hallways? There's no fucking way. And there are aspects of Resident Evil Apocalypse, of even Resident Evil Extinction, and to a small degree in Afterlife, that do still capture these, but as we go through the films, we're losing them more and more, to the point where I would say they are totally gone by Retribution, and I think when we watch Retribution, you'll agree with me.
I think I probably will, yeah.
As fun as Retribution is going to be, without a doubt, we're going to get to that point where it's just like, we have lost the one thing that we genuinely, unironically enjoyed about these movies. And it's a process that happened way faster in the Silent Hill films. And I think that maybe part of that might be because of the Resident Evil movies.
It very well could be.
Because, Resident Evil movies, you had, okay, this is a series that was originally based on a game that was a very slow-paced game with a lot of, just kind of dread and dealing with, the unknown. Silent Hill is the exact same thing. Silent Hill made to compete directly with Resident Evil in its conception.
Mm-hmm.
As the Resident Evil movies go on, we get more action, we get less straight-up horror, more action horror. Silent Hill, much faster process, where the first movie is not exactly what we would have wanted, but has a lot of the elements that we would like. We get to Revelation. Revelation is another movie that was whisked into the series whisked into theaters on the promise of 3D, where its abbreviation SHR3D, or Shred.
Oh my fucking god!
And that was a popular joke. So Shred comes out, and what we've got is
my favorite snowboarding movie.
We've got a lot of really kind of lowbrow horror, where it's just oh, spooky things are happening. Oh, this dude got his fingers cut off and his fingers flew at the screen. Oh, look at this weird monster. kind of sucks. You're not going to see it again. And then, like, there's a big dumb monster fight and it ends. And you feel empty and hollow.
That sounds kind of like how I feel in some parts of this.
And, like, you're just kind of left there scratching your head and thinking, did they just set up 3 different sequel hooks? Wait, shouldn't Heather and Vincent technically be related? Why are they love interests? But that is a story for another time.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of a similar thing here, where obviously over the course of the Resident Evil movies, it's a much slower process. And I think part of that is because they had the 2 different directors, or they had like 3 different directors for the first 3 movies, and now they're only just getting back into Paul Anderson. Paul Anderson going full ham with the fucking action.
Oh, absolutely.
Continue into the next movie.
He's just going all out at this point.
Oh yeah, and it's just like, it's not like I'm enjoying the movies any less as a result. I'm still having a lot of fun with it, but I can't help but feel that now there's something missing, because we're losing out on the one thing that I enjoyed in a very legitimate sense. Not to say that I don't legitimately enjoy how fun these can be to watch and how fun they can be to rip on, but there was this sort of atmosphere in a lot of the scenes from like the first 3 movies that were things like I genuinely enjoyed, in the sense of, this is what I would want a Resident Evil movie to be. I'm having a perfectly good time with what I've got. I would rather it had been this. These are the movies I need. What we got are the movies we deserve.
Yeah, these are dumb movies. These are silly movies. These are, just as for you with Silent Hill, these are to me with Resident Evil, of especially going into Afterlife. I mentioned earlier when we started this podcast, and I think you probably noticed, one of the executive producers was Capcom executive Hiroyuki Kobayashi.
Yep.
He obviously he was on board. If I recall, he was one of the producers on Bio 5, Resident Evil 5. Let me double check that just as I'm going along here. He was not. Never mind. He was not. But he's one of the higher ups at Capcom, and obviously they're going to be reflecting with the times what is going on basically in any given time. And yeah, this is kind of what we ended up getting in part because of that. This is what was big at the time. This is what was going to be big, both from the gameplay standpoint and from the mass audience standpoint. What did they want? They wanted action. What's going to get Johnny 17-year-old into a theater seat? It's not going to be slow, deliberate horror. It's going to be balls out action.
What's going to get my dad into a theater seat?
Yeah. Well, not my dad.
My dad, definitely.
Your dad. My dad isn't going to watch one of these things. My dad's going to go, John, what the hell are you into? I'm 72. No, I'm 75 years old, John. What the hell are you watching? Who's this Mila Jovovich? Who the hell's that? No, that's going to be my dad. It's going to be what's going to get folks into the seats. What's going to get the casual theater goer in what is essentially were these summer flicks? Or when were these?
I think for the most part these release in the summer. Final Chapter's releasing in January.
Final Chapter, yeah, January, which says a lot about it. I mean, if you know what I mean. These were September.
So tail end.
So tail ends, yeah, but that's still like September. That's still kind of like prime-ish movie season to get folks in, especially before the summer break's over. Yeah, it's like we're getting essentially what is demanded by the market. We're getting what works.
And the market doesn't exactly lie.
It doesn't always lie. It's not always. I'll say it this way. The market isn't always exactly in the best of ideas of what they want. They know what they want, but what they want isn't always necessarily the best thing.
What they want isn't always what they should get.
It's kind of like this. Let me make this analogy. It's kind of like we all, to an extent, like junk food. It's not what
junk food.
Yeah, it's like these movies. These movies are basically junk food, both from a cinematic standpoint and from a Resident Evil standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
You don't always, they're not the best thing for you, neither as a fan nor as a moviegoer, but they fit a craving for a large portion of the population of being a quick, easy fill in terms of action and just shameless gore that they end up doing really well. They're essentially, these movies are essentially 6 servings of Doritos.
I'll
And
eat 6 servings
They
of
are
Doritos. I don't
6
give a
servings.
fuck.
They are 6 servings of Doritos. And that is, my God, it has just hit me now that that's what these are basically are. They are cinematic junk food. They're not good for you. After you're done with them, you kind of have this feeling of, well, I feel kind of gross for watching that. And you're almost like, I want to look at something better, either from a fan of the game standpoint like myself, or whatnot. And they also go really great with booze. No comment there. No comment. But yeah, it's like, this is a stupid movie. But it is the kind of thing where you can watch it, and again, you're having fun watching it, just like you would enjoy yourself snacking away at a bag of chips or something like that. It's that kind of vibe, and it feels like it's kind of the same idea with the Silent Hill films, or at least with the second one in particular.
Oh god, not even the second one. The second one is like you drank a glass of milk that had gone bad.
Oh god, so what you're saying is, first one is the Doritos, second one is the Doritos.
I would say that the first one is like a Doritos Locos Taco.
Okay, that sounds more, it's like a little more sophisticated. It's a little more creative then. It's still not the
second one
finest
is
thing.
Doritos.
Yeah, oh god, the second one sounds like Doritos.
The second one is the Doritos cupcake.
Oh god. Oh. Okay, side note, back at my undergrad, they actually made Mountain Dew and Doritos cupcakes one day at the I was so tempted to buy one just to see what it was like. I didn't, but I was so tempted.
That's so unfortunate.
I missed out on a golden opportunity to hate myself.
Oh man. But yeah, no, like, I definitely agree with that, where it's just like, you know, like I said, I've been playing Remake all day.
Yeah.
And, like, Remake, fantastic fucking game.
Yeah.
Fucking beautiful, fun to play. I'm playing Jill at the moment.
Yeah.
On normal, and I am having a hell of a time. I'm really bad at ammo management.
It's okay, dude, you've known me for how long? I suck at managing more than, like, 50 handgun bullets on normal difficulty. You heard me? I'm turning in my badge. Gage, you're not alone.
You're off the force.
I'm a loose cannon cop.
Oh, man. So, yeah, like, that game's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Fantastic game. It feels like I have been eating a gourmet meal all day, and then I just decided, you know what?
You
I
stuffed
really
yourself
want
with
some
Pringles.
McDonald's fries.
You stuffed yourself with a Big Mac. You go from the foie gras to the chicken McNuggets.
That's basically what it is. Oh man, and you know what? I enjoyed the hell out of that chicken
Who
nugget.
doesn't? Yeah, it's like you get together with some friends at 2 a.m. at a McDonald's, and you just stuff your face with whatever's on the secret menu.
What you do is you each get like a box of 20 chicken McNuggets, and then you all dump them on like the serving tray.
And then you
just eat those communal chicken nuggets.
And you loudly play some techno in the background while you do.
Exactly.
And you slowly take one of those chicken nuggets and you slowly zoom it in your friend's face in the slowest motion possible.
And that is what watching Resident Evil Afterlife is like.
And it's a fucking blast with friends.
And you know what? I think that's a good place to end it for this week.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
that got
next week, oh man, it is time for Resident Evil Retribution. I don't think we're ready.
I don't, because
in the slightest.
Because you know what? That whole day prior, I'm just going to be here, hopefully, playing Resident Evil 7.
Oh yeah. So you're gonna be in like the same boat as me, where you're enjoying that filet mignon.
I'm enjoying that wonderful Louisiana Cajun human entrails dish, a la Casa de Baker, and
then you're just diving into a vat full of like KFC biscuits and gravy.
Welcome to the shit show, son.
But yeah, so Resident Evil Retribution, and it'll be great because I'll have also been playing RE7 in all likelihood, because I also have it pre-ordered. I'm super excited. I have been waiting so long
Same.
And we're finally
oh
getting
my
it.
god,
It's finally
we have waited
here.
fucking forever. It's almost here.
By the time you're listening to this podcast, it will have been out.
Yeah. And we will have been
Honestly.
playing it. And,
And
we
we
will
will
give our
be-
comments. Hopefully.
Yep.
We'll probably give some
We
comments.
will have been thrust to the elbow inside those mold mans.
We're gonna go find our wives.
We're going to do it. But yeah, that is for next week.
Yes, it is.
I want to thank everybody for listening to us go on about this dumb as hell, fun as hell movie. And Lou, I am so glad that we were able to have a good time this week after just how boring Extinction was.
Oh my god, yeah. Gage, this was a step up. It was a delight. It was a fun time. That's the best part of this is at the end of the day, like I've said, was it a good movie? No. Was it a fun time with a friend? Yes. Yes, it absolutely was.
And I hope everybody else had a good time listening to us having a good time. I want to thank you all, and we will see you next week for Resident Evil Retribution. Take care.
Take care, everybody, and good night.
You did a really good job. This case was just too weird. This case was